Joe Rogan.
Spotify's top podcast.
Joe Rogan.
I want to go back to this Rogan situation for a minute because
in early 2022, Joe Rogan became the most talked about man in the world.
Specifically, they say they are angry at Joe Rogan for purveying what they called COVID misinformation, which, again, this is just an excuse to get rid of Rogan.
Millions of people hated his guts and were itching to cancel him.
The Joe Rogan controversy definitely added to this after Neil Young decided to pull out and then some other people decided to pull out.
His crimes? Talking about medical treatments which did not align with the mainstream narrative. When asked how he dealt with the campaign, Joe's answer was profound. His beliefs aligning with the teachings of a 2,000-year-old ancient Greek philosophy called Stoicism. In this video, you will learn how to thrive during chaos with a few mental tricks.
My exercise routines are horrible, and because of that, everything else is easier. I create my own bullshit. It's not just that, it's also sauna and cold plunge and these torture sessions. When you endure those, it makes enduring other things much easier.
Rogan is well known for his dedication to fitness and peak performance. His podcast studios are always decked out with high-tech exercise equipment. He invests much of his money into saunas and cold plunges. He's even the co-founder of the nutrition brand On It. I mean, come on, the dude has a Stranger Things-esque isolation tank in his studio. He is serious. For years, he has trained in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and has been dedicated to martial arts since he was 14. All of these activities are hard, physically, and more importantly, mentally difficult. You might be wondering why Rogan trains like a Spartan in an goju. He explains it through this Chinese proverb.
It's better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war.
In the philosophy of Stoicism, voluntary discomfort was an exercise used to strengthen the mind. Stoic philosophers of old would purposefully withstand hardships during times of peace to ensure they had the strength to endure times of chaos. Seneca, a wealthy Roman elite and a dedicated Stoic philosopher, would sometimes walk the streets underdressed for someone of his stature, possibly enduring cold winter winds. Set aside a certain number of days during which you shall be content with the scantiest and cheapest fare, with a coarse and rough dress, saying to yourself the while, "Is this the condition that I feared?" Even Mike Tyson took this advice during his devastating heavyweight run in boxing. Tyson would routinely wake up earlier than his competitors to run in the cold. This was done to get a competitive mental edge. Mental toughness is akin to physical toughness. You need to exercise through consistent training. Prepare yourself for chaos through learning to do hard things: cold showers, cold plunges, saunas, exercise, deep meditations, no-fap, dopamine detoxes, martial arts, learning a new language. Each time asking yourself, is this the condition I feared? And you'll see you have the power to withstand it. It's not about torturing yourself. It's about getting those reps in. You sweat in training to avoid bleeding in battle. During the climax of the chaos, Joe Rogan actively ignored the negativity.
I kept doing shows. I kept doing stand-up. I ignored everything. I don't ever let her read negative articles to me. I don't want them. I don't care. I go, that's a person's opinion. You take a person's opinion, you write it down. It doesn't give it any more relevance.
He performed his daily routines as if things on the outside world were perfectly normal. He created his own bubble.
The pressure's on, you're in the desert, it's unpleasant. If you haven't done anything wrong, you wait it out, you don't apologize, you don't back down. You wait and things viciously turn in your favor.
The Stoic Seneca once said, "The great and noble are those who, like a lordly beast, listen unmoved to the barking of little dogs." You cannot allow the opinions of little dogs to define you. You must stay grounded in your self-concept. No one knows you better than you. Constructive feedback should be welcomed, but negative criticism from haters can be ignored.
Talk to the hand.
Often the people doing the criticizing are angry at you, you remind them of their shadow side. This is what Carl Jung called projection. Humans have a negativity bias. We have a proclivity to prioritize negative information and emotions over positive ones. People can feel melancholic after the death of a loved one for years. Rarely do parents feel euphoria for their new babies for longer than a few months. Criticism lives rent-free in our minds, whilst compliments are often forgotten. Negative news gets all the views, whilst positive news is ignored. To find peace in chaos, you must actively fight against the urge to join in the negativity. Choose to retire into thyself, for nowhere either with more quiet or more freedom from trouble does a man retire than his own soul. Marcus Aurelius. During times of chaos, it's imperative you create an inner sanctuary. This is done by having a peaceful mind, a mental place to retreat when things become difficult. Visualize your inner sanctuary until it has the tone of reality.
If you can see it here, and you have the courage enough to speak it, it will happen.
The more you enter your refuge, the more real it becomes to you. The refuge could be an old family home, a place of emotional significance. If you wish, you can create an entirely new place which does not exist on this plane. It's well known that visualization can influence the physiology of the body. Various studies have shown how visualization of nature can be effective in combating anxiety. Practice it before bed. Find refuge by protecting yourself from negative impressions. More importantly, create a citadel in your mind where you can retreat during times of chaos. Joe Rogan used the path of mastery to avoid chaos in his life. Growing up, he felt like a loser until he became good at something.
Find a thing you like. Try to find a thing that you really enjoy. Try to find a thing that you're passionate about. For me, early on, it was drawing. It was illustrations. It was comic books to martial arts. That was my vehicle out of my own anxiety and trauma issues and insecurities.
This passion allowed him to build his self-esteem and gain some much-needed confidence. The success in martial arts gave him the courage to pursue stand-up comedy, acting, UFC commentating, and finally his golden goose, podcasting. The success compounded because he leveraged what neuroscientists call the winner effect. The winner effect is what happens when small wins compound to form bigger wins. It's why the rich keep getting richer, why success creates success. In MMA and other competitive sports, it's common for a champion who goes on a strong run accumulating many victories to suddenly lose, then continue losing as if struck by a curse. A famous example is Anderson Silva, who won 17 fights in a row over the course of 6 years before losing. After his loss, he fought 8 times over the next 7 years, winning only one of those fights. How tragic. This is the reason why boxing managers give their boxers easy tune-up fights before bigger and more challenging opponents. Winning gives you a psychological advantage to overcome adversity. It changes your brain chemistry. Losing can do the opposite, making it easier to fall into a downward spiral. You are less likely to react to negativity, the opinions of others, and chaos in general when you feel good about yourself. Winning is also a path to self-mastery. It pushes you past your preconceived limits. No person is free who is not master of himself. Mastery in any field, whether blacksmithing or business, can be used as a tool for self-improvement. The way you do one thing is how you do everything. Leverage the winner effect by accumulating easy wins, making your bed in the morning, being consistent with your exercise routine, doing what you say you will do. Do it long enough, and these small wins will get bigger. You will build some serious confidence and expect to win in the future. This creates a self-fulfilling prophecy in which you win more often than you lose. When you keep winning, you'll be like Joe Rogan. Chaos won't faze you due to your incredible body chemistry and powerful self-concept. You'll feel too good about where you're going in life to worry about the outside world. Chaos is a given in our world. How do we deal with it? Joe Rogan is a great example of someone who has learned to stay grounded during ridiculously high levels of chaos. You too can do this by practicing voluntary discomfort, blocking out negativity, channeling your winner effect. Do this and I promise you'll be one step closer to living and dying well.